And Shabbat Shalom, everybody, or maybe Shabbat Shalom Eve, as the case may be. I am your host, Rob Skiba, and I'm excited to be joined once again by my co-host, John Hall from Now You See TV. Hey, John. How you
I'm
doing,
just so confused.
don't be confused.
No, well, like you always say about Shabbat, man, I have peace about what we've been doing, the last 3 or 4 years. But it is interesting to look into all the information that's coming out and rereading it and going back over it. So Shalom Eve, Shabbat Shalom Eve, to everybody out there who's going down that road.
Yeah, so we got off to a little bit of a late start. My internet was down. I had to get it rebooted, but we're up and running again. So let's go ahead and jump in. Before we do, I want to show you something. I didn't get a whole lot of video editing. In fact, I didn't really get any video editing done this week because I was playing around with my new 3D printer. And this was the first one that I did. This is Isaiah 40:22.
Ooh, a circle.
Inscribed circle.
An inscribed circle.
Yeah, Proverbs and Job both say that it was inscribed. I don't know how you can inscribe a sphere or an orbit, but you can inscribe a circle. And I just proved it right here. And then I made a little dome to go over it.
Look at you.
Got a little dome, goes over it. This was my first attempt, and this was done with like a real low quality setting, so it was faster. Even at faster though, this took like 6-7 hours to do. I mean, even at the slowest the lowest quality, highest speed. Then I got a little bit more creative, and I created here's a bigger base. Then these are groove holes for the pillars to go into. I got these little square things to put in here. They go in like that, and then the pillars will go underneath that. And so this would be a circular base that has one of these earths. You can just kind of pop it in there like that. And then I got a bigger dome that I made right here with a cutout so you can look into it. So if you've seen my Yahuwah Terrarium 3D animation, not animation, but the 3D graphic, I guess I should say, that I created, the Yahuwah Terrarium, I basically recreated that for the purpose of 3D printing and making a little model of it.
Well, it gives you something to hold on to. It's not like you can go to Walmart and buy the paper for that thing. What does the thing use?
It uses a spool like this of plastic.
Oh,
it's like a certain. The printer I have, I got a really cheap one. It was like $300. Actually, it's about the same price as a decent color, a consumer color laser printer. It's a little 3D printer. So it only does one. I don't know if there are other ones that do more than one color at a time, but this one you can only do one at a time. And so you basically just feed this into the print head, and then it's sort of like a hot melt glue gun that's machine controlled, and it just lays down really fine layers of plastic.
You get a plastic smell in the room when you're sitting there using that thing?
Not at all. No smell at all, and it dries like instantly. I mean, it's like as soon as it lays it down, you can touch it and it's already dry. So you don't have that like a hot melt glue gun has kind of a smell to it when it heats up. No smell at all. It is kind of noisy though. I had it on during I don't know if you caught the show I did with Zen Garcia this past Wednesday, but it was going and it was loud, man. So I had to like put it under my desk and put it away and muffle it because I'm like, oh man, somebody's gonna hear.
And Zen's so mild mannered too.
Yeah. So hopefully I don't think anybody could hear that, but yeah. So that's what's been keeping me busy this week, and even after I did this design, I've come up with some other ideas and some more improvements. So it's kind of neat trying to figure this out. And boy, the possibilities, once you start figuring out what you can do with it, man, it's just crazy cool that you can even do something like that. The average person can spend $300 and make stuff.
Are you going to be incorporating it into your videos or into your teachings?
You never know, man. Probably. I mean, it's always good to have a little hands-on, it's like if I'm doing a conference or something like that, I'll certainly bring it for people to kind of check out, What I like to do is get this is all just one color, obviously, I'd like to get a clear plastic, so this is see-through, because right now everything's the same color. But for early first draft test, I'm pretty happy with it.
What a researcher will do to research.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, and that may come up in today's discussions. I don't know, but some of the stuff that Zen and I talked about has certainly given me a pause to go back and look at some other things I thought I knew. But I don't want to rabbit trail too far here, so let me go ahead and punch up this week's Torah portion that everybody's doing is Exodus week number 21. And if you guys want to check that out, go to virtualhousechurch.com, and then the main menu, just scroll down to where you see week number 21. This is the portion from Exodus that everybody's doing, Exodus 30:11 through 34:35, and the prophets, 1 Kings 18:1 through 39, and these are the references that you see in the New Testament there. And again, we did teachings back in 2013 and 14. This was I made a video out of it about a year ago, out of the audio that we did from the 2014 broadcast. And here's some teaching done by the Way Biblical Fellowship, so you guys can certainly check that out. Usually have some pretty cool stuff to check out. And this is a ministry called Parsha in 60 Seconds. Parsha is the Hebrew word for study. So basically what they do is distill the whole Torah portion down to a 60-second sound bite, and usually have some pretty interesting visuals to go with it. So we'll go ahead and play that just so everybody knows what we're doing this weekend.
Shalom and welcome to Parsha in 60 Seconds. Today's portion is from Exodus 30:11 through 34:35. It is called Tissa, which means when you take. Moses took a census, and each person 20 years and older gave half a shekel offering to the tent of meetings. A copper laver was placed for ceremonial washing before sacrifice. Moses used a secret recipe to make anointing oil and anointed the entire tent of meetings. Moses made another secret sacred incense to burn in the tent of meetings. Moses recruited gifted men to supply all furnishings. Moses told the people to keep the Sabbath. While receiving the 2 stone tablets from God, the people got finicky and demanded Aaron make them a god. So he did. He made a golden calf. God was not happy. Moses pleaded for the people, and God decided not to blow them up. Moses was outraged by the sin of the people and shut the tablets. He burned the calf, ground it into powder, stewed it in a pot, and made the Israelites drink it. Moses and the Levites killed 3,000 people. God plagued the rest of the sinners. The Israelites were off to the promised land. God was so angry the tent of meeting had to be moved outside the camp. Moses requested God to lead them, and he agreed. Moses wanted to see God, and God explained no one can see God's face and live. Moses saw God's back. God remade the tablets. God promised to drive out the people of the promised land and warned against idolatry, keeping the Sabbath, keeping the holidays, and not practicing any pagan rituals. 40 days and 40 nights later, Moses came down with the tablets. He was glowing. He spoke the law to the people and then veiled his face. When speaking to God, he would unveil. And that is Tissa in 60 seconds.
Wow, this is a power-packed portion.
Oh, yeah, lots to talk about there. On the way home from work tonight, I got in just enough time to fire this. I don't even think my computer's all warm up yet, but I was listening to 2014, and you were talking about this, and you started out talking about the Passover. One of the things that you had mentioned was the anointing oils. And I see a lot of people discussing that these days. A lot of people selling, oils and essential oils, and you made a reference that you would never ever try to mix the oils yourself.
Mm-hmm. That particular one.
Yeah.
I mean, when a lot of people started fairly recently getting into the essential oil stuff, Young Living and things like that. And, my wife and I both, we are not the type of people to run to pharmacia, whenever there's a problem, and doctors would be a last resort for us. I mean, it's like, yeah, when I ran down the stairs and missed the last one and busted my foot, okay, got to go to the doctor. Gotta get some screws and put that back together again. But otherwise, we are always looking for natural remedies to things, and there's certainly a lot of healing value that can be gained from the essential oils and stuff. So of course, there's a fair amount of companies out there doing it. Young Living probably being one of the more popular ones, doTERRA, some of the other ones. And, interestingly enough, a fair amount of people in our home Torah study group that we meet at Kevin and Amanda's house are also doing the essential oils and stuff. So when we get to this portion of the Torah, we're looking through it and we're like, they're giving you the ingredients here, but it also kind of comes with a warning not to, it's specifically, for what it was described, to be used for only, and, my position was, well, you know what? I mean, I may have the ingredients, I may have the ability to do it, but I don't think I want to do it, based on what I read there, you know.
Well, it's just like anything else, especially, you know, working in the ER. I wouldn't advise anybody, you know, to start taking a medication without, you know, first being tested out to take that medication. You know, hindsight's 2020. Had a young kid come in. I think it was like 3, just got vaccinated and was going into seizures.
Oh, wow.
Back of my head, Rob, the back of my head, I just kept thinking, wow, he just got hit with 2 or 3 vaccines, and now he's seizing. And I'm going, people, I don't know what to say. I'm put in a position. The only thing I can do, and I'm sitting there starting an IV on this little kid, pumping him full of fluids just to get him out of it, padding up his bed. And I'm like, here's some perspective, folks. Be careful. Be careful with your kids. And that's all I got to say. But, you know, mixing this stuff, I wouldn't do it, because first it had to be in the temple, right? Had to be the tabernacle, and had to be a Levite priest to do it. And I'm not either one of those, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, well, that was kind of our feeling on it, and good word on the vaccine stuff. I mean, I feel bad for you guys that work in the medical industry that have to, on the one side, sort of tote a company line, but on the other side, you know what, you have certain knowledge that probably a lot of people don't have. I got another friend of mine who also, he works in a hospital, and every year they want to make it mandatory for him to have to get like the flu shot and stuff, you know, to keep his job. And he so far he's been successful in always getting a waiver, you know, but you know, he's like, man, they just keep cracking down on it. And man, I mean, wow.
Well, you know, I switched back into the ER, back into critical care, because I took some time off after, you know, we lost some family members. I just couldn't handle it. So I'm now back in the ER for the last 3 or 4 weeks, back into the critical care. And I see them from anywhere from just newborn all the way up until they pass away in asystole. I mean, I get the variety. But, you know, nurses are now becoming dartboards. It's almost like the military. You just line up and start taking it. And so I've got a waiver based on my faith.
Yeah.
And I work at a Catholic initiative hospital of all places. So it kind of helps. You know, that's a faith-based hospital that I work at, but not a lot of hospitals do that. They make them tote the lines, or they get absolutely fired. I mean, this stuff ain't to be played with. Onward ho, though.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's part of the Torah portion. Another big part of it is the golden calf. And, I mean, let me do the screen share here again. Of course, there's the commentary, the Ardell. I always recommend people to check this stuff out, because there's a wealth of information that this person has put out. And I didn't read every single commentary on every single Torah portion. I read a fair amount of them, though. And of the ones that I did read, there were very few things that I disagreed with. If there was a disagreement, it was like a really minor kind of a nitpicking thing usually. But otherwise, I found that these commentaries to be very much worth checking out. So I highly encourage you guys to do so. Read those commentaries. Of course, the usual questions from the workbook. Talked about some other things here, it looks like, regarding the name of Yeshua and Hebrew words and stuff like that, Hebrew word studies. Then I wrote a thing on Christians and their golden calves, and this was a segment taken from my book, Babylon Rising and the First Shall Be Last. And, you know, this whole thing right here, this is the, oh, God knows my heart routine. You know, with Christmas and Easter, so many of our brothers and sisters, friends, you know, family members, whatnot, well, God knows my heart. Well, yeah, I think it's Jeremiah, maybe, that says, you know, yeah, it's deceitful and desperately wicked. Beyond that, you have the perfect example right here of, they said, okay, they make this thing. They say, this is your God, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt. So they're acknowledging the deity that brought them out of Egypt, the pillar of fire. It's curious that they didn't make some sort of pillar of fire. You know, if it was me, if I was in this mindset, if I had the same mindset these people had, I'd been like, why are we making a cow? You know, why don't we make this pillar of fire thing? That's what took us out. But and then just to be sure we understand what they were doing here, it says, Aaron made a proclamation and said, tomorrow shall be a feast to Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, the God who brought them out of Egypt. Because we know that when Moses and Aaron showed up, they made it known who this God is. Let my people go. And, and God told them, hey, tell them who I am, right? So they had the name. They knew his identity. They knew this person with the name Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, this deity with the name Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, was the individual that brought them out of Egypt. And so they create this thing as a representation to honor that God. And this is exactly, you have to know, they would have been saying, the 3,000 before they got killed, well, my heart. We meant you. We meant to honor you. 3,000 dead. That argument, it just doesn't work. I mean, we have this perfect example in Scripture for why we shouldn't have anything to do with things like Christmas and Easter and using the excuse, well, God knows my heart. I'm really thinking about baby Jesus when I've got the Nimrod boners all over my church. I'm sorry to be crude, but we should be crude because it is crude.
We came into this 3.5 years ago. My mom was still alive, and she had a Christmas tree up in the living room. I think Michael was like 12 or 13, and he comes in the living room and says, "Gee, Grandma, you got a big boner in your living room."
Oh no!
I was like,
"Oh no!"
Out of the mouth of babes,
kids. Wow. Okay, parents, you may have to shield them from me because I don't want to be a bad influence.
So, but the golden calf, I just got a question for you right off the bat. I remember watching 119 Ministries. They did this teaching on the golden calf, and they're the thought that it came from the Paleo Hebrew Alf being the ox head. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I tend to believe that that's probably true.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. It would make sense because, well, let me put that Hebrew chart back up on the screen again. Actually, this chart right here, this shows the regular Hebrew, sort of the modern Hebrew. But if you look at the Paleo Hebrew for this letter Aleph, the pictographic language, the original, actually looks like an ox head. I mean, it's that letter is depicted with basically a drawing of an ox head, and that letter means, one of the meanings of that letter, it's got strength, first leader, God. So yeah, I can see that kind of justification for it. Although, if you have that Hebrew understanding that the Aleph is represented by an ox head and that the letter itself has a meaning of God, well, you combine that with everything they just came out of from their slavery in Egypt, some of these people being born into slavery, into that Egyptian culture where you've got this kind of thing on top of their head, like if you look at the various depictions of the pharaohs and gods and stuff that they have all over the Egyptian temples and stuff like that, you could see where they mixed that into this, and clearly there's something going on here that God wasn't happy about. So, while you can maybe say that there was a little bit of justification there, well, the same thing can be said for Christmas and Easter. All of the justification that people use for Christmas and Easter could be just, a more modern rendition of the same type of justification that they may have engaged in.
Well, he's given us feast days, and later on in Deuteronomy, once we get down that road, in 12:4, he says, "You must worship Yahweh your Elohim." He said, "You must not worship Yahweh your Elohim like they do."
Yeah, Deuteronomy 12.
And they were taking something that, and we got the feast days to be celebrating. And hey, shameful plug here, but I want to fellowship with you guys April 14th and 15th.
Yep.
We got the Passover conference coming, and got Rob coming. We got David Carrico. Just would love to fellowship with you guys there. So I just want to get that plug in there because we have feast days to honor. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else there was from that Torah portion.
You had a giant up there for a second. to like
yeah,
kind of throw you a curveball.
Let me put that back up and see if I can figure out what was the deal with that. I want to say, if I go to that text right there, let me just do a keyword search here. Yeah, right here. That's why I put it in there. In Exodus 33, he says, "And I will send an angel before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanite, the Amorite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, the Jebusite." So, if we think of this angel right here as the angel of the Lord, or as a pre-incarnate Yeshua, or a rendition of Yeshua, however you want to phrase it, he's like, okay, we're all getting set up here on the mountain to solidify our marriage together. You're going to be my people. I'm going to be your God. Let's go. And before we get into the land that I promise you, I'm going to clean house, baby. I'm going to wipe out the big problems for you. And so that's in our Torah portion. And so what I was doing here is just kind of showing people, Yehoshua and Yeshua, the giant killers, because Joshua, we had the whole campaign of Joshua following the entrance into the land, right? Which would have happened 40 years earlier if they would have just gone in Numbers 13. Instead they were afraid. But I mean, you got to figure what they were afraid of when they walked in there. They're like, whoa. I mean, we see in Amos 2:9 as a reference that backs up Exodus 33. It says, "Yet I destroyed the Amorite before them." Okay, though they were tall as cedars and strong as the oaks, I destroyed their fruit above and their roots below. And he says they're as tall as cedar trees. Well, I mean, a modest cedar tree gets to 35 feet tall. The cedars of Lebanon got to 150 feet tall. So just erring on the small side of cedar scale, I've got right here, 35-foot giant compared to a 6-foot person. Those are the short guys left. So, I mean, if he did in fact go before them, I think he may have been taking out the bigger of the biggest ones, because he still left a few for them to have to deal with. I mean, even by the time you get to Og of Bashan, this is a rough scale of Og of Bashan at 15 to 18 feet tall. So you got the 30-footers here, and you got the half that right here when they go up against Og of Bashan. So that was the tie-in there for this portion.
Talk about having to use some Israeli martial arts.
Well, yeah, and actually, I'm glad you brought that up. One of the first shows I did when I went over to the Truth Frequency Radio Network with my Revolutionary Radio Project show, one of the first guests I had on that new format was Dr. Judd Burton, and he's another Nephilim researcher, a good friend of mine. And he speculates, and I think it's reasonable speculation, that some of the martial arts forms that we have today may have come as a result of, I mean, if you figure they're in the wilderness for 40 years, yeah, they're collecting manna, yeah, they're having the sacrifices, but what are they doing the rest of the time?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, I mean, they had 40 years to prepare a whole generation of people to go to battle with the creatures that the original spies came back and described as men of great stature that we feel like grasshoppers in comparison with, So he was saying, look at some of the various, especially weaponized martial arts, where you're using things like staffs and stuff like that for the martial arts. He's like, a lot of these are like long pole weapons that have this upward thrusting movement. And he's like, if you're training to attack a 6-foot tall person, some of these movements don't make a lot of sense. I mean, they can be adapted, obviously, to fight a 6-footer. But he said, what if, and he's speculating, but what if some of this martial arts was designed to take out the kneecaps or the groin area, the weaker areas that are accessible to a small person when they're fighting a giant. And I mean, I'm like, well, it makes a lot of sense why you do that. I mean, I remember reading something from Bruce Lee when I was taking Jeet Kune Do back in the early 90s, and I was all into all that stuff. And one of his apprentices was Dan Inosanto, who trained another guy, Paul Vunak, who was the guy who trained at least at the time, the Navy SEALs. He was like one of the primary instructors for the Navy SEAls. And my friend Brennan that I went to high school with, he trained under Paul Vunak. So I trained under Brennan, so that was my connection. So he'd have me studying things and I was reading. And one of the things that Bruce Lee was known for saying was, yeah, he does all the flashy moves and stuff in the movies, but that's choreographed. That's movies. He said, I would no more kick you in the head than I would punch you in the toe. Like, he's like, yeah, there's a place for those high kicks and stuff like that. But, for the most part, you're just trying to close the distance and then you get into grappling mode and then you're, wrestling around on the ground and stuff like that. You're in close quarters, So if you think about some of these martial arts that specialize in these really high kicks, jumping up high and, real high kicks, maybe some of that stuff originated as a result of the need to develop combat skills to take out giants. And that was just a path that Dr. Judd Burton was on in his research that I was just fascinated by.
We got a bunch of video of Paul Vunak doing inside trapping.
Oh, trapping. He's unbelievable.
We've got the whole video set of training under Paul Vunak. We got it like years ago.
Yeah.
However,
he's got the
whole trapping thing.
Oh, incredible.
Fingers in the eyes, just flick. It was crazy. But if you think about it, Moses was trained as a prince of Egypt, and it was the epic center of that entire region. So he probably knew what he was doing. Yeah. And knew how to train the Israelites how to go up against these giants. Plus, when you have Yahweh doing what he says to do and then going out, that's pretty big backing right there. Yeah. And you're going to lose.
Absolutely. If you've got, the creator of the universe backing your army, and you have the skills for, doing your part in that, you can understand why when you get to Joshua, the book of Joshua, the Rahab, she's like, we all have heard of you. We all know about you guys. We heard of what you guys did to the Egyptians, what you did to the Amorites, and wow, we're all shaking in our boots over here. Yeah.
Plus, they got this huge dome traveling around in the wilderness with this big fire coming right down the middle of it.
Down the middle of it. Yeah, that would be pretty intimidating too, I would say.
Anyways, just to get one last thing in, that NIUC TV is going to be there to Passover. We're going to be going all over the country. You guys are going to be going to the East Coast this year to do a biblical flat Earth conference
in November.
Yeah, we're going to be there. You got one, man. You're going to be busy this year. You got one in July. Yeah. I think it's declaring the end from the beginning conference you're going to be at. There's quite a few.
Yeah. Let me, for people who want to know, I have been so bad about publishing my speaking schedule, but I'm trying to get better at it. Let me punch up the screen share here again. Whoops, hang on a second.
While I was doing that, if you guys are coming today or tonight at midnight is the last night you can get a discount on the hotel for the Passover conference coming up in April. So I want to make sure you guys knew that. Yeah.
If you go to my website, BabylonRisingBooks.com, and in the main menu, click on the Book Rob tab. It's to book me to come speak somewhere. It just gives you a brief rundown of my requirements and the various topics that I typically talk about. Need to add Flat Earth to this because I haven't updated this in a while. The last thing I had on here was Yahweh Triangle Part 3. But anyway, these are a general overview of the topics that I typically discuss, so you can let me know what you want me to talk about. Click there if you want me to speak. And then under that, I have my calendar. So April, we have Passover on the 12th, day 1 of unleavened bread on the 13th, and then the Blood on the Doorpost Passover Conference 14 and 15. So that's in April. And then I've got some time off there in May, it looks like. In June, these are the possible dates for Australia. I was supposed to be leaving. I was supposed to be in Australia right now, as a matter of fact, but that got postponed. So these are the window of time. I've got 10 days available that I can go. Any 10 days within this window is what we're looking at right now. So the guy that I'm that's doing all the coordinating on that end, he's trying to figure out what's going to work out best. So we'll be somewhere in Australia during this time, probably in June. And then in July, we've got the annual Declaring the End from the Beginning conference. That's going to be down there with Philip in Beaumont. And there's an alternative date for Australia, maybe in August, but I don't think that's going to happen. Then I've got another one, Angels, Demons, and something other. What's this one? Angels, Demons, and Biblical Earth. I think the title's actually been changed. This is the annual Back to the Future conference with John Gabrielson. So that's the dates for August.
You're going to think we're stalking you because we're going to be at every one of those filming and streaming.
No, man, that's great. I'm glad you are.
Except you haven't invited us to Australia, mate.
Well, yeah, I'll have to hook you up with the person that's hooking me up. So,
G'day, mate.
Yeah. Then maybe going to Hawaii possibly in September. And then we got Sukkot in October. And then there's the Flat Earth International Conference, 9 and 10 November. And I think December right now is the only month that I don't actually have something booked. So busy year, but I think it's the calendar's up to date. So everything that I currently have on my books, I believe is up here on this calendar now.
Well, we're going to be streaming just, I'd say a bunch of those, and we're not stalking you at all, Rob.
No,
we just want you to know that we're going to be streaming those live on the web base, and eventually they'll make it to the Roku to where everybody can see them. It's just, man, this is going to be a busy year.
Yeah, very busy, exciting year. I have to say, people are worried again this year about, the supposed alignment, the September 11th alignment of 2017 that's supposed to be happening. And one of these is I need to just punch it up here and show you guys. Maybe I can even do it today while we're kind of chit-chatting.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'm not sure if I have Stellarium on this computer that I'm using. That's the only problem. But the last time I did look into it, and it's been a little while since I did, so I'd have to confirm it again. But the last time I looked on this issue, yes, the alignment is similar. It is definitely similar to the alignment that I believe took place on September 11th, 3 BC. But it's not unusual. I mean, a similar alignment happens almost every year, or pretty frequently anyway, around that time of the year. It's just kind of the way the Mazzaroth works, and the mechanism of the sun and moon and stuff like that. Oh, I do have it. Cool. But last time I checked this, it didn't appear to be as much of an accurate representation as the September 11th 3 BC was. And so it didn't, I'm like, well, okay, that's interesting. But how many years now? Good grief. It's been like, what, 5 years at least, 5 years in a row where somebody's out there saying that the end of the world is coming, or a massive change is coming, or, it's all going to hit the fan,
Renee Moses.
Renee Moses. Yeah, she's not the only one.
Yeah, I know.
I had another brother call me a few days ago, and he's convinced August 22nd there's something huge heading our way. And look, maybe there is, I don't know, but I've become a little bit jaded on some of this stuff just because I've been through so much of it. And in the beginning, I kind of got along on the same bandwagon, as people that, some people consider us watchmen on the wall or whatever. People who are out there doing research and looking at the signs of the times and stuff like that, to be fair, have been seeing things lining up and pointing to specific dates and times, as a potential target for when something could happen. So, my whole thing is, look, especially this year, for those of you guys who are new into all of this stuff, man, I gotta keep saying I gotta do it. I just gotta do it. Get that calendar, the new calendar up. The current calendar that's on the website is still available and usable through the spring feast through April. Mm-hmm. So you can at least get started with the existing calendar. I'll get the other one up before then, so that you can get on the calendar for the whole year. And if things are going to happen in the future, and I believe they are, that things will be starting to happen, they're going to happen on the Moedim. The Moedim is the Hebrew word for the appointed times. Those are the things on God's calendar. I showed you my calendar, my Google calendar of events. Those are the dates that I've got scheduled to do stuff. Well, he's got a calendar of his own that he gives us in the Torah, where he has decided that when he's going to do stuff here with us on this earth throughout history, he does them on his daily calendar of appointed times. So, yeah, I mean, if we are doing the right thing at the right time in the right places that we're called to do them, you know, in particular in the fall, with beginning of the Feast of Trumpets, going through Tabernacles, then I believe that we're okay. Frankly, whatever's coming, I think that we will be preserved from them, because we will be where we're supposed to be at the right time, you know, doing what God told us to do. Those who are choosing to ignore those things and not heeding the signs and the warnings, I think that they're going to be in for a rude awakening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not just talking about Michael Rood. I'm talking about, you know, hey, you know, God's kind of like come out of Babylon deal, and that's a conditional thing. People say Christians are not appointed unto wrath. Well, yeah, that's true. Babylon's appointed the wrath, but if you decide you're going to stay in Babylon, well, guess what? You're going to get that which is not appointed to you. You know, it's not this broad stroke thing. Okay, you're a Christian, everything's good. No, we still got stuff to do, you know. And
well, you know, I've been asked several times about. I got an echo over there. Sorry about that. The button. There we go. So I get asked how many times what calendar I use, and I use the virtual house calendar. That's what we've used the last several years because it works for our family. And I've been, well, don't you look at the barley? Don't you look at the new moon? And I'm like, this is the date. This is the season. All I know is the season, right? Until I study all of this stuff out, you know, I'm in the season. I'm going to be doing Passover on this date. It works for us. We've been blessed by doing it, immensely so. There's so much shalom in our home. It's like, you know, Donald Trump. Any more shalom, you don't want no more. I want all the shalom I can get. So observing these Passover times, and I'm like Steve Matria, when Passover hits, I start looking up. And Thomas in the chat room asked about the alignment coming up. Could it be a satanic fabrication?
Well, that is always a possibility, because they know the times too. And, you know, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they try to do something on an appointed time as a counterfeit. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me at all, frankly. Let me put up the screen share here.
And while he's doing that, I'm going to get the link ready, guys, and I'm going to put it in the chat room so you guys can come on and join us on the Virtual House Church.
Okay, let me see. Okay, this is September 11th, 2017. I wonder if where's the Virgo? Oh, there she is right there. Okay. So we have Virgo here. If you can see that, I'm pulling the camera down inside the Earth so you can kind of just see all the cardinal points. And so it looks like, looking towards the southwest, you have Virgo. Now this is at, let's just give ourselves some even numbers here. 1800 hours, so 6 p.m. As you go through this, yeah, I'm not seeing it. I don't. Where's the moon? You know, first of all, she's not clothed with the sun. The sun's at her head. Let me see if I can get rid of the ground plane here. Forgot how to do that. It's been a while since I used this ground plane. Okay, ground plane's gone bye-bye. I don't even see the moon. So I'll tell you what. Let's go to 0. Okay, here's the moon way down here. Can you see the moon in the east right here?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so this is 1 o'clock in the morning. If I can move this out of the way. 1 o'clock in the morning, moon. Here's the sun. Sun's above Virgo's head. Moon's way the heck up here. You know,
Whoa.
the September alignment, there's the moon way up here. Okay, just make sure I'm right. 2017, 9/11. Okay, 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock, 12. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, 9.
That's
The sun's not clothing her, for one thing, and the moon's not at her feet. You know, so, you know, unless I'm missing something here, I don't see what everybody else is getting so hyped up about. You know, whereas you got something quite different that takes place on September 11th, 3 BC. I mean, you have the perfect alignment of Revelation 12, 1 through 5, where she's clothed the sun. The sun's like right in here. The crescent moon, new moon, is right at her feet. And you got the 9 stars of Leo, and then I think it was Venus, Jupiter, and Mars. So you got the 9 stars of Leo plus the wandering stars, 12 stars at her head. All that's perfect on September 11th, 3 BC. But it's not even close to that for September 11th.
To Thomas's point, you know, there's a lot of fear mongering, and we've seen it the last 2 or 3 years with all these date settings. And this could be used as that as well. It was like the blood moons.
Yeah, blood moons, and that was this conversation I had with this brother who called me the other day, trying to tell me about 8/22 something big is going to happen. He was mentioning some kind of an eclipse, and you know, first of all, my thought on that is, show me in the Bible where I'm supposed to be looking for eclipses as a sign.
Right.
Now, we do see signs that say that the sun no longer gives its light and the moon, you know, turns blood red. And yes, those things do happen during an eclipse. You know, the sun not giving its light due to the moon eclipsing it, sure, and the moon turning blood red allegedly because of the shape of the earth or the lesser moon, as the Book of Enoch may indicate. Whatever the case is, it's causing the lunar eclipse. Yes, it does cause those things, but other things can cause that as well. I mean, just atmospheric disruptions. I mean, if you see the other things that are taking place, like the bottomless pit being opened and all the smoke and ash and dust and everything going up into the sky, you know, and catastrophe and earthquake and volcanoes and all kinds of other things can easily cause the same effect. Or God could just, you know, let's say it's a bright, white, perfect full moon. He just makes it turn red. Or there's the sun in the middle of the day, moon nowhere near it, and he just turns a switch off. You know, and the sun goes dim. And, you know, nothing has to say that it has to take place through the mechanism of an eclipse. That's an assumption. It's a reasonable assumption, but we have to acknowledge that it's still an assumption.
Right.
So, I mean, those are the kind of things that I look at. And again, to be fair, these other guys are out there looking at signs, they're putting pieces together, and they're putting out warning flares saying, hey, guys, pay attention. Something could happen on 8/22. Something could happen on September 11th. Sure, something could. Then again, maybe nothing will happen. So, like always, I just say, look, be prayerful, be mindful, watch the signs, you know, but don't get into fear. Get on God's page.
Amen. So we've got a lot of callers just called in, Rob, so we're going to take them as they came in. Juan, welcome to the Virtual House Church. Are you there?
Yeah. Hi, brothers. How are you?
Welcome back, sir. Shalom.
Yeah. Shalom. It's very nice to be with you again this preparation night for the Shabbat. You know, there are many things that in this Torah portion for this week that are very interesting. Some of the stuff that wasn't mentioned is about the census.
Yeah.
And how the census is not right in the eyes of Yahuwah. And that's why they had to provide an offering for that. And there is an interesting connection with the end times as well and the mark of the beast. It's something that we should maybe take a look with more details. But I wanted to share with you something regarding the golden calf that I have been studying lately. And it's basically it's something that we are facing so far. And actually, I have a word, and especially for you, Rob, and you have been facing this lately. So I want to refer to Yahuchanan, John 15, verse 18 and 20. And it says, this is Yahushua talking to his disciples the last night before he was arrested. He said, if the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love it its own. But because you are not of the world, but I choose you out of the world, for that reason the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they shall persecute you too. If they have guarded my word, they would guard yours too. So basically, Mashiach is telling us that the world will hate us the same way that it was hated him. So the question here is why the world hated him. And I think the answer is in Yehohanan 8, verse 37. And if we read it very, very fast, it says, the Mashiach is discussing with the Pharisees. And it says, I know that you are the seed of Abraham, but you seek to kill me because my word has no place in you. So basically, he's very persecuted because of the word. And if you see in the verse 40, it said, but now you seek to kill me, a man who has spoken to you the truth, which I heard from Elohim. Abraham did not do this. So basically, the word persecuted Mashiach because of the devar of Yahuwah, because of the truth. Yahushua said that the word is the truth. So how is this connected to the situation of the calf, the golden calf? If we check what was going on during this thing, is basically the people were in a totally different path. They were mixing the worship to Yahuwah, and actually we can see in the passages that they were mixing the feast of Yahuwah, and they were saying that the golden calf was the Elohim that was liberating them from Israel. So it was a total mixture. They were deviating from the truth. And the interesting part in the Exodus, and I think this is what's going on today, and what's going to happen very soon, I think, is the reaction of Moshe. If we see, let me check. This is in the 33, I think. So it's in chapter 32, verse 26, said, and Moshe stood in the entrance of the camp and said, who is for Yahuwah? Come to me. And all of the sons of Levi gathered themselves to him. So it's basically, it was a division. And what's the connection with the end times? Yahushua said that in the Matthew 24, that everyone is going to be delivering between one another, and we will face a huge persecution. And also in Matthew 10, he said, don't think that I came here to bring peace to the world. I came here to bring sword, father against sons, and so on and so on. So what's going to happen? And this actually, I think, what happened in the golden calf situation. What's going to happen in the end times? That is going to create such division between the families. Is because of the word of Yahuwah. And actually, part of your research, Rob, and what we are discussing so far, is that we need to make a decision if we're going to believe the word for Yahuwah or if we're going to believe the word. And actually, this is what we're facing now. And I think the situation that we saw in the golden calf with that question from Moshe, those who are for Yahuwah, come to me, is the same situation that we're going to face very soon. We will need to make a decision if we're going to believe in the word of Yahuwah or we're going to believe in the word.
Amen. While you were talking, I happened to look at, I think it was you that mentioned it in the chat, that was actually September 23rd.
Yeah, exactly.
Should be looking at. And so we'll go ahead and punch that up. And I recall something else, that the other argument I had, because I went back and looked at the various Feast of Trumpets, like what dates they fall on. Like in 2015, it was September 14 and 15. So if you go to 2015, 14, and or 15, almost the exact same alignment in 2015. If you go to 2016, last year's Feast of Trumpet was October 3rd. So we'll go to October 3rd. There it is again. You know, now this one that's coming up is 2017 is September 23rd. Now I'll give you it is here's the moon, right? Whoops, I just passed it. 2023. That's a real good alignment right there. And it is a crescent moon. If you zoom in on this, that's a new moon right there. I don't know if you guys can see it on your screen. This is in fact almost exactly like the one in September 11th, 3 BC. So I will stand corrected on that. At different planets here, in September 11th, you had Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury. Here you have Venus, Mercury, and Mars, which is the god of war. So this is interesting. I'll give you that. That's and I'll stand corrected on my judgment on that. I do still maintain that around the same time of the year, almost every year, you have very similar alignments. But I guess I was focused on the date September 11th when people were trying to tell it to me, and not realizing that this year it is September 23rd. So, okay, I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I stand corrected, and I will certainly be keeping my eye on this. But again, it just goes to what I said before. He does stuff on his calendar. And if he was, in fact, born, as I believe he was, on Feast of Trumpets, Yom Teruah, Tishri 1, which is marked off by the, well, I don't know if it is anymore or not, but we always say marked off by the new moon. If that is, in fact, the case, I have maintained for quite some time that I believe he's coming back on his birthday.
The interesting thing, Robert, is that what's going to happen this year is somehow aligned to the narrative in Hasson 12. And you see, this is the moment, what you are seeing now on the screen. The moon is under her feet. And with the 12 star in her head. This is aligned to what is written in Hasson. So I agree with you, by the way. We need to see what's going to happen. We don't know now.
Yeah, I mean, if you just go through I got it at 11 p.m. here, but I mean, if you just kind of go through the day, this would be during the daytime, we wouldn't see that, because the sun would be obscuring our view of it. Although we would know if we can see the moon, if the moon is visible during the day, we would know that the moon is at the feet of Virgo. And throughout the day, the sun obviously is kind of moving around a bit here, but, I don't know. I am suddenly a lot more intrigued by this than I was before. But, like I said, we need to be at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. And if we are, then I believe we will be protected.
And the interesting thing is this is going to happen in a Shabbat as well.
Oh, is that true? Let me...
having studied that topic as well, so it is a Shabbat.
Oh, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, I guess. Well.
And you know what the Yahushua said. Pray to the Father that your escape is not going to happen in the Shabbat or winter. So interesting stuff to study. Anyway.
Yeah, that is. You're right. September 23rd is a Shabbat. Okay, I am intrigued. A lot more interested in this whole thing than I was before. This is why I stress that we should always search and see if these things be true. Don't just listen to somebody. Go out and search it for yourself. Now, I misunderstood somebody because I believe that when I first looked into it, they were talking about it being September 11th. So I was focused on the date September 11th. But Feast of Trumpets this year is not on September 11th. It's on the 23rd, which is a Shabbat. And this alignment is pretty close to almost identical to the 3 BC alignment. So,
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of sitting here going.
I'm looking at it going, wow.
I'm kind of going, wow, too. Let me do a negative
you know, and
2.
when I was studying this, I made a timeline to the end times. And actually, it's interesting how this fits somehow with some of the prophecies in Hasson. I will share it with you.
Okay.
Interesting stuff to check.
You saw what I had on the screen before for September 23rd of this year. This is the software reckons reckons 3 BC as -2. So this is September 11th, 3 BC or -2 with the crescent moon. I mean, the alignment this year, the sun's a little bit further up, but wow, that's pretty darn close.
Valerie in the chat room just says, please mention to Rob that Jupiter enters Virgo's womb in November 2016 and will be in her womb for 9 months.
You know what happened? Actually, I was checking the news on December. Jupiter enters in Virgo's womb and started to do this retrograde movement. And this retrograde movement is during 9 months. So when it's going out of the womb is in September 23. So the conceptions of how it should be in December when everything started, this movement started. And the interesting thing, checking the news, what happened in December? I don't know if you check it, but John Kerry did a conference and he was mentioning about the whole situation in Israel and the two-state situation, and he was pushing that it cannot be just one state, and Israelis cannot start building the settlement in the West Bank. So somehow everything that related to, and also was the approval of the resolution in the United Nations. So everything started to push on Israel on December. So again, I'm connecting some dots. Maybe it's not true, it's not correct. But it's interesting that some things are going on in the world, and actually the world nowadays is totally crazy. And what happened in December, I think, put in the spot Israel again and Jerusalem again.
Yeah, and the alignment of September 11th, 3 BC, Jupiter was parked over Regulus. So you had King Planet over King Star in King Constellation of the tribe of Judah, Leo. So, that I believe that's what, and that goes back to like August 27th, I think, August 27th, 3 BC. And it's like if you start with, let's just go there, 27. I want to say it was somewhere in here. Yeah. Look what Venus, okay. So look what Jupiter, Venus and Jupiter. You have Jupiter right here and you have Venus. So this is the father of the gods in the Greek mythology, and Venus is the fertility goddess. So you got Venus coming toward Jupiter, crosses over Jupiter, and just about the time Jupiter sits on top of Regulus. And then Mercury comes up and joins Venus as Jupiter is sitting over the King Star in the King Constellation. So you got 3 kings right there. And then the moon is racing to her feet at September 11th. So, wow, that's just...
Other stuff, if you read the Hasson 12, the sun, she has the sun as a cloth. Basically, the sun is illuminated entirely the constellation. Another stuff that you have 3 wandering stars called planets.
Yeah.
Over her head. So that's why you have 12 stars in that moment. And that is quite weird. It's difficult to find that 3 planets or 12 stars are over her head.
Correct. Yeah, you have to include the wandering stars. Well, there's no such thing as planets in the Bible.
That's true.
What we call planets right now are called by Jude wandering stars. They're incidentally reserved for judgment. So if we think of wandering stars as planets, as bodies of rock floating around the sun, what's the deal with them being judged? That doesn't really. I mean, why are you what? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if you view them as sentient entities that have left their estate and violated the command not to move in their courses, then it makes a lot more sense. So, biblically speaking, planets, you got to throw the word out. Even though the King James uses it, I think in First Kings, if I remember right, it's First or Second Kings. It's the only place that the word planet shows up. But if you look up the Hebrew word that the King James translators translated into planets, it's the word Mazaroth, which is constellations. So it's a totally ridiculous translation of that word. So planets don't exist in the Bible. Wandering stars and regular stars and stars as angels do exist. So, if you look at it that way, it is reasonable to say 12 stars at a head. You have the 9 stars of Leo plus the 3 wandering stars. Okay, I'm intrigued. I mean, we're going way off topic here, but
well, it's the virtual house church, Rob.
Well, maybe this is something we're supposed to know. Before I'd written it off, and now I'm going, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can just write that off. So, maybe this year is the year everybody really needs to start paying attention. We've been saying it for, here on the Virtual House Church and my ministry for about 7 years now. Guys, we need to get on God's calendar. But maybe this is the year where that becomes real important.
Well, the 2014, Torah portion, you started out the show basically saying there's many members with different perspectives and that we need to listen to those perspectives and not just one guy standing in front of a pulpit speaking to the masses. Everybody needs to have a say. Everybody brings something to the table. And this is interesting. This is interesting.
There are other signs pointing to this year, guys. The decree to create the state of Israel was in 1947. So now in 2017, it's the 70 years. Somehow you can connect it to the prophecies on Daniel.
Yeah, that would be
70 weeks.
Yeah, that would be another reason why many people are going to point to this year, because they're going to, in 1988, everybody was like, 40 years since Israel was declared a nation. So 88 reasons why Christ is going to return in 88. Of course, that came and went. And so everybody kind of said, well, maybe a generation's not 40 years, then maybe it's 70. Mm-hmm. So this is to this time frame. And so I can see why people are going to go, okay, maybe this is going to be important for that reason. I'm going to remain very skeptical of that because I'm not convinced that 1948 is the fulfillment everybody thinks it is. And if this year comes and goes, then everybody will be pointing to 10 years from now. It'll be 27, 28.
Yes. Well, as Juan started out, he says in Proverbs 4:2, "For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my Torah." Mm-hmm. So we are going to be going down to a choice between, are we going to believe his word or are we going to walk away from it? Are we going to think in our own hearts we have this all figured out instead of going back straight to his word? And I think it's a good word, especially coming up in these end days.
The scenario is being created. I will recommend you to listen to the speech that the Pope gave in the U.S. Congress in 2015 and also in the UN. Basically, the whole discussion is about the religious extremism and terrorism. And there are a lot of other speeches that are talking about to be in the extreme or believing what is written in the Bible or in the sacred books. So I think somehow everything and the world is pushing to, and that's why I believe that this is going to happen soon. That we will need to make a decision. We believe literally what is written over there, and what you are doing, Rob, about the flat earth, and what we're discussing about a lot of other things, is basically believing literally what is written over there. So we will need to make a decision. We believe in the word. We believe in the science. We believe in men's tradition, or we believe what is written in the word.
Amen.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, good stuff, man. You got me going here, brother.
And you have my email, right? Correct?
I receive it. Thank you, brother.
Okay. Excellent. Do you have any more comments or questions?
No, I will stay. So let's wait
Okay.
for the other brothers.
Well, it looks like, Christopher, welcome back to the Virtual House Church. How you doing tonight?
I think he's muted.
Are you there? He's unmuted.
Yeah, can't hear him though.
Let me check out his sound there. Nope. See if you can't get it worked out.
See if he can work that out. Maybe we get Stephen on.
Stephen, are you there? Are you there, Stephen? I don't know, Rob. Are you there?
I'm here. I'm still here.
Are you here? Juan's still here. Stephen, are you there, sir?
Everybody's bailed and they're out selling everything they own to go live on top of a mountain right now, I think.
They've taken off somewhere. I don't know where they're going.
If I may, I would like to make another comment.
Please do.
In the meantime. So one of the other aspects that in this Torah portion that we saw is related to the Shabbat day and the importance of that, and also about the Moedim, especially about the Pesach and Chag HaMatzot and Shavuot, the three feasts. So, I told you last week that since I started my Torah journey, I have been following the Hillel Babylonian moon-based calendar. and now this year I'm in a transition to start following the Torah plus Hanok, Sun and Moon and Star-based calendar. Why is that? I think I made some comment last week.
Hello?
We have some noise. I don't know if you hear that.
You hearing that, Rob?
Yeah, it's coming from Steven's mic.
All right, Stephen. I'm going to have you bail out, and then I'll have you come back, okay? There you go. There you go, Juan.
So I think it's important to understand and study about the calendar of Yahuwah. And I gave some examples last week. And actually, now the transition I'm doing, I believe that the year is going to start on the Wednesday, 22nd. And then everything is changing regarding the Pesach and the Moedim dates. But I don't want to go in deeper details on the calendar. And now I think that deserves another study maybe.
So so you think 2017, what we call on the Gregorian calendar, March 2017, you believe the Hebrew calendar this year is going to start on the 22nd?
Correct. Based on the study have been doing, and actually, last week happened something very, very, very nice because I got in contact after the study on last Friday. I got in contact with a sister that I saw. She was trying to contact me on the chat, and that was the third witness I received regarding how to understand the Enoch calendar and the Torah calendar, basically. And actually, I received two witnesses before, and I'm prepared in order to do the transition now because in the Torah and the Tanakh, in the whole scripture, I don't see any witness about celebrating of 13th month, as I said last week.
Right. Yeah, that has, you've really got me thinking along those lines since then also. And so, traditionally the marking of the months in the beginning of the year has been understood by the moon, whether you go by crescent or conjunction. And at least to my understanding, it was the first new moon following the spring equinox.
Yes.
That
was my understanding as well.
Yeah, that is what our calendar that we have here on the Virtual House Church is based on. And again, I didn't make this. This is Kevin and Amanda, the people that I fellowship with on Saturdays. They made these. I just make them available, and they're not yet on the page that we're talking about. So I'm respecting their views on this, and this is their calendar. But how do you end up with a start on the 22nd? By what reckoning are you going? Is that where the solstice is? Are you going off the beginning of the solstice?
And because of the
or
moon
equinox, equinox.
Because of the moon and the sun. First, because of the sun, I'm basically reading Hanoch book. The equinox, and believe me, I have been doing this on the also searching NASA data, and I don't believe in NASA sometimes some dates information. But anyway, this year is going to be a coincidence. The equinox is in the 21st.
Yeah, I have here. Oh, I just punched up spring equinox. Spring equinox 2017 says Monday, March 20th.
Yeah, but it depends on the location as well, that they're changing somehow where it's happening. So that's why I don't believe so much on the information that is over there. So I think, and actually I have my sundial that I'm following what is going on, and there is a person that I was taking some videos called Jerry Morris. He also has
Gary Morris.
Yeah, Jerry Morris, exactly. He has amazing videos regarding the priestly courses, and also he's following the equinox with his own sundial. He has been doing this for several years, and the dates that he has are totally different of all the information that is on internet. So this year, everything pointing that the equinox is going to happen on the Tuesday, 21st, and also. What happened with the moon? We check the Hanoch calendar, Hanoch book. It says that the moon is delaying itself 10 days per year. And the interesting thing that what happened this year, that the full moon, and I think that's the science, a full moon is not the new moon for the counting of the moon in this case, happened exactly 10 days before the 21st. So somehow, it's aligned with what is written in Hanoch. That on the 21st is the 364 days. So that's why I believe in the year is starting the following day, in Wednesday, 22nd. And the last point about that, what is interesting.
So wait. So I'm just trying to track with you. So the reason why, okay, so they have the spring equinox. Again, this would depend on your location. For us here in the Northern Hemisphere, you're in South America, right? You're in Brazil or something? Yeah.
In Chile.
So that there would be a little bit of a difference here for you. But for us, it says Monday the 20th. But we're going, well, this is the spring equinox, and we're going off of a 365-day calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying if you go after a 364-day calendar, like the Book of Enoch, then is that where the discrepancy is coming from? Is that where? So you basically you're a day off, at least according to that. You're on the 21st is the spring, and you're saying day one. That would be this would be the end of the previous year, and this would be the beginning of the new year.
Exactly. And actually, the sister that I contacted on the chat last week, she sent me the calendar that has been following, also checking when the equinox is since 2013. And the equinox in his research is in a totally different day and she's in the US, by the way, in a totally different day when the websites and the science is saying.
Huh. Within a day or two, though. I mean, we're still talking in roughly the same time period, right?
That's why it's important to follow the moon, because we cannot follow man's information and not only the sun. That's why our creator put the luminaries, the sun, the moon, and the stars. So we need to follow the luminaries to understand what are the timings. That's why he said, I put this for science, for Moedim, for days and years.
Right. So how are you using the moon then to calculate? Are you going off of the last full moon in the year?
I believe that in the creation day, and actually the interesting stuff that do you remember when Yahuwah created the sun, moon, and star? In which day?
Yeah.
It was the fourth day.
Well, no, fourth day, yeah.
Exactly, and the fourth day, and this is the connection with the Shabbat, because The Shabbat happened exactly 3 days after the creation of the sun, moon, and stars. And you count from Wednesday to Saturday, you have the 3 days for the Shabbat. So my belief is that when Yahuwah created the sun and the moon, he created the moon a full moon because he was putting the lights on the Shamayim in order for us to see it. So that's why if you consider that the full moon is the sign, what happened in this year, that this sign was 10 days before the 21st, meaning it was on the...
Yeah, last year it was 10 days earlier than it is this year.
No, last year was exactly at the same moment that we have the equinox.
Really?
Yes, was on the 23rd of March. So that's why it's exactly in alignment with the equinox. So this year it should be 10 days before. Next year it's going to be 20 days before, and the next one is going to be 30 days before. That's why we need to add 30 days in order to adjust the moon to the sun.
So, okay, I'm just seeing if I can track with you here. So you're looking for effectively the last full moon of the year on the Hebrew calendar, and then you're going to count what, 10 days or 15 days forward
10
from.
Days. 10 days, and that's going to be the day 364, meaning that the next day is the first day of the year.
And it happens to fall right after the sun indicates the spring equinox.
Exactly.
Huh. Well, you know, what I find intriguing by that is all of that can be done by anybody with a stick in the ground.
And look into the moon as well.
Yeah, and the ability to,
and also
observe.
don't forget the star. That was my comment last week. The stars, also the Mazzaroth, is somehow connected to the tribes, and is giving us all the movements. So we need to understand what are the constellations we will see in a specific moment.
Huh. Okay. Yeah.
I haven't studied that part as well. I'm studying still what's the relation of the stars with the calendar.
Right. So are you saying then that the zodiac, the 12 constellations of the Mazzaroth, I should say, let's say, are indicating what month you're in?
Indicating what? Sorry, Rob, what did you say again?
They are there to indicate what month you're in?
Somehow, yes. I think.
Well, I mean, that goes along with, people say, well, what's your sign, right? And
somehow.
And my sign, according to that logic, is Cancer, the crab, because that was the constellation that's dominant the month that I was born.
And the interesting thing that according to Hanok, we have 4 seasons, and that's why we have the 4 intercalary days. And if you see how the tribes were camping in the desert, they were camping in three tribes together in the east, another 3 in the north, another 3 in the west, and another 3 in the south.
Right.
So basically, we're seeing the same pattern: 4 seasons, 3 tribes, 3 constellations.
Oh, that's interesting. Have you, or do you know of anybody who has done a study to correlate the constellation signs with the corresponding tribe and their position around the tabernacle?
No, I was trying to look into it. Actually, I have this book. I think you put this book. You have this book. You put it in one of the previous videos. I don't know, a few weeks ago. The Secret in the Stars or something like that.
The Gospel in the Stars and the Witness in the Stars. There's 2 different books.
Yes, I'm the Witness in the Star. I also have the Gospel in the Star.
Yeah,
I'm studying those books in order to understand what is the alignment of or the correlation with the tribes.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I haven't done a study on it myself, but on that, I mean, I've read through both those books, not completely. I've just more or less used them as a study guide resource to find stuff every now and then when I need it. But I'm wondering, just thinking out loud here, if the tribes were arranged by a correspondent, because they all had banners on their flags that
exactly.
represented them. If their flag banner / name represents a constellation, and if the grouping that they're in represents a season. So because you have four, north, south, east, west, where they're set up in groups of 3. So I'm wondering if each group represents a season, and if each season somehow corresponds to a stellar house that's taking place above, the encampment in the same,
I think it is
same cardinal point directions.
Yeah, I think it is. But again, I'm studying that, and the connection that I mentioned last week is with the dream that Joseph had.
Yeah.
When he saw the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the star was his brothers.
Yeah.
The tribes.
Wow, man. This is fascinating.
Yeah, last year I created a calendar, again with the Hillel calendar, following Hillel calendar. Now I'm adjusting it to what I believe, what I'm gonna start doing this year. So I will share it with you, John. You can send it to Rob to take a look on it.
Yeah, definitely keep us up to date on your research in that regard. There's 3 books that I recommend if people want to look more into this. This one right here, Witness of the Stars this is by E.W. Bullinger. And this one here, The Gospel in the Stars by Joseph Seiss. They're both written, I think, pretty close to around the same time. But here's another one that I probably need to look into a lot more. I started reading through it and even began to highlight it and stuff, but this guy was going a little bit over my head with some of his, I would say a lot over my head with some of his stuff. But this is a book called The Wheel of the Stars by Andrew Gabriel Roth. And he's the same guy who did the Aramaic New Testament that I have posted on Virtual House Church. If you go on the Virtual House Church page, in fact, I'll screen share that for you. It's a great resource too if you guys haven't checked this out. This right here, the Aramaic New Testament Bible, aent.org. If you go to that, you click on that and just go to his website. That's a great resource, just that Bible alone. He's got a ton of footnotes in there helping you to understand the Hebrew and stuff just a lot better. I mean, just brilliant stuff. And because I like that so much, I looked into something else, to see what else this guy's written, and I saw this book. And it says, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahuwah." And he's got all kinds of interesting stuff on the back of it with astrolabes and various characters in history. And it says in the front, the ancient biblical calendar of the future. So I'm gonna have to look into this a little bit more. I don't know if it's dealing with what you're talking about or not, but what I found is God does stuff like that with me. Well, I'll pick up a book or pick up something at some point because I think it's interesting, and then won't do anything with it. Then years later, all of a sudden, something comes up. I'm like, oh, that's why I got that book.
It has happened to me as well, Rob, and that's the way that he has been guiding me in order to understand some things.
Yeah, he prepares us in advance, I think.
Yeah. And he's revealing us things piece by piece when we are ready to receive it. So maybe when we are not prepared to understand it, we are not gonna receive it.
Correct.
But, that's why this is we are walking, and every step we are doing, we are learning more stuff. And one thing in the Witness of the Star, that's one of the book I have. There is a representation of how the tribes were camping in the desert. And the connection with the tabernacle being a dome is great because somehow it's representing the sun, it's representing the earth, and how the tribes are surrounding this. One recommendation that I can do based on my journey, I believe that as I said, the year is starting on the 22nd, so it's important to start studying the calendar very fast in order to see if we're following his days or not. We need to come out of Babylon somehow, and we need to understand if this is Babylon or not. This is part of everyone's study.
Yeah, we just mentioned in the beginning of this, as we were looking at the September 23rd alignment and stuff like that. But if you're correct, let me just punch this back up again. If your calculations are correct, then that pushes all the Moedim back a week. So if that's the case, then your September 23rd alignment won't be, it won't be Tishri 1.
Pesach in this case should be on April 4th.
Pesach would be on April 4th.
Yes.
On your, yeah, see, so if you're saying April 4th is Passover,
let me show you something.
Then the alignment of September 23rd doesn't land on a feast day unless it happens on maybe the beginning of Sukkot. Because you're pushing.
Shabbat is a Moedim as well.
Huh?
It's landing in a Shabbat, and you know, regarding based on Vayikra, Leviticus 23, Shabbat is also a Moedim.
Well, that's true. That is true. Yep, they're not 7 Moedim; they're 8. There's the 7 appointed times and the Shabbat, which is also an appointed time. So, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah. No, I see my screen. Let me see. Oh, yeah, I can see it. Yep.
So let me show you something quickly.
This is your calendar?
Yeah, this is my calendar.
Oh, very good.
So basically, the third day, Yom Shishi, is on March 21st on Tuesday. Here's the equinox, the 4th intercalary day based on Hanoch, remembrance somehow. And the next day, the 4 days, is the Rosh Chodeshim. And also, this is something wrong that many people are talking about. Every month is Rosh Chodesh. The scripture doesn't tell us that it's Rosh Chodesh every year, every month. It's Chodesh. The only Rosh Chodesh is the first in the first month. Rosh Chodeshim.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's because everybody who subscribes to this idea, whether you're talking about crescent or conjunction, they consider that the Rosh Chodesh, or the beginning of the month. So I haven't looked into this, but you're saying there's only one of those, and that's the beginning of the first month?
That we call Rosh because it's head of the months, head of the renewals.
Well,
that's the meaning of the word Rosh.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what they're saying this is. They're saying this is the head of the month of the first Hebrew month.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying it's the head, like the super head. This is the head not just of the first month, but the head of the new calendar year. That's what you're saying.
Not necessarily, because you need to look into the Hebrew. In Hebrew, the only place that is mentioned about a Rosh Chodeshim is in Shemot, in Exodus 13, I think. When the
Exodus 13?
No, it's not 13. When they receive the, no, it's in 12.
Exodus 12.
It says this new moon, but we know it's not new moon. It's this Chodesh is the beginning of Chodeshim, and the word beginning is Rosh. So this Chodesh is Rosh Chodeshim in Hebrew.
That's so I'm going to look this up. It's 12:2, right? Exodus 12:2.
Yes.
So Exodus 12.
And if you look the other reference throughout the scriptures when they're talking about the month, the Hebrew word that they are using is only Chodesh. They are not saying Rosh Chodesh, just Chodesh. The only place that you can see Rosh Chodeshim is in Exodus Shemot 12:2.
Yeah, so you have right here Rosh being the head.
Yes.
You're saying that the only time that precedes the word Kodesh or however you say it is in this one scripture right here, or what?
Yes, you can see it's Chodesh, Rosh Chodeshim. The month is the head of the months. That's why Chodeshim is plural of Chodesh.
Yeah, Hodeshim.
Yeah.
Months. This month shall be the beginning of months. So the head of the months. So you're saying that everywhere else that month is referenced that doesn't have the Rosh in front of it?
Correct. Just take a look in all the verses in the scriptures and you will see just the word Chodesh, that meaning a month or a renewal.
Yeah, Kodesh is Strong's 2320. Now it says short definition month, new month. But you're saying, and I've heard this argument before too, that is not the word for moon. And I always, my counter to that was, well, we get the word month. Moon would be the root for month. Month. That it's, but I've heard the argument that, and I forget what the word is. I haven't studied this really in depth myself. So help me out here if you know it, but that the word for moon is completely different than, and there's no real connection to month to the word moon. Is that, am I right in that?
Exactly. Or am I... Yeah, you're right. Actually, if you check the Dead Sea Scroll, there is another word for new moon. So coming back to the calendar, you see in this calendar, Pesach is in the 14th day, according to, this is totally aligned with the scripture, and that's going to happen on April 4th. And then we have the April 5, starting the Chag HaMatzot, 11 bread. I will send it to John so you can take a look in more details.
Yeah. Send me your calendar, man. Maybe what I'll do is put both calendars up on the website and just say, hey, pray. I'm not your teacher. I'm just going to keep emphasizing that. I'm no one's teacher.
Me neither.
I'm a loudmouth, opinionated student. Nothing more. So we're told in Scripture, 1 John chapter 2, that the Holy Spirit is supposed to be our teacher. Period. And so all we can do is provide information that we think we understand. And you guys out there need to consider it, pray about it, search these things out for yourself to see if they be true, and see where the Holy Spirit leads you. I'm of the position this year, going into the, we're finishing the Gregorian calendar. We're starting the Gregorian calendar, but finishing the Hebrew year up pretty quickly here. My attitude going into the new Hebrew calendar is I'm going to try to walk out this new understanding, because it's the only way I'm going to figure it out. I've been walking out this understanding for about 7 years now, and think I have a fairly good understanding of, good handle on it. But what you're saying is challenging that. Some of the other things that I've looked in have challenged that as well. And if you've got a calendar already set up that helps us to illustrate the newer understanding, then I think it'd be a valuable resource, not only for myself, but I think for everybody else to look at.
Yeah, 3 tips that I can provide. I totally agree with your comment, Rob. This is a work that we need to do by ourselves, and depending on where we are in the path is what we are going to start receiving. We are not teachers. Yahushua said, "Don't call yourselves Rabbi. You have just one teacher and one leader. That's the Mashiach." So we're just brothers. So the first tip that I can tell, look into the scriptures. If you can find a 13th month, believe me, you will find none.
Yeah.
Check in the scripture, you can see people looking into the moon. But look into the scriptures, reference about the 12 months, you will have at least 3 witnesses. One of them is what I said last week, is the tree of life that will provide fruits every month, and he will provide 12 fruits.
12. Yeah, I mean, that's a solid argument right there. I mean, when you said that last time, I mean, because so many times it just takes that one scripture to unlock something and throw a monkey wrench into a lot of these other ideas, because it's like, okay, wait a minute, if the tree of life, I mean, everything else is 12s, right? I mean, you got 12 tribes, 12 disciples, 12, 12 gates of the New Jerusalem, 12, 12, 12, and 12 months and 12 signs in the Maseroth. Where the heck do we come up with a 13th month that just really kind of, and if the tree only provides fruit for 12 months, then what do you do on the 13th one? I mean, that was the one I'm going, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. And the third tip is the first thing in order to understand the calendar is we need to understand what is a day according to the scripture, when the day begin and when it ends. And what I'm showing in the screen is a presentation I prepared. Actually, you mentioned last week that we need to, it's much easier to see visually things. Actually, for me, it's much easier to do it like that. So I created some visual stuff in order to understand all of this. We can see it now, but I don't want to take all the time. We have Stephen there, but I will share it with you.
Juan, if there's any way, there's a few of the folks over on the YouTube chat would love to know if you have a Facebook page or a website they can go to. And also, if you would send that to me via email, I'll get it over to Rob as soon as possible.
Yeah, I will send it right away after this call, John. I don't have Facebook. I opened an account, I don't know, 10 years ago. I decided to not using it anymore. I didn't close it, but during the last 10 years, I haven't used it. I don't have a website. I just opened a YouTube channel. So what I'm gonna do, I will share with you my email address and also the YouTube channel. I have some videos over there, so you can send it to the people. My email address, by the way, is light-to-every-nation @gmail.com. I will send it you in the chat.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Wow.
Yeah, good stuff.
You never know where the Ruach's going to take us.
You never know, man. And I can hear some people thinking, "Oh, you're just chasing every wind of doctrine, and you got itching ears." That's usually the answer people have when you veer off the beaten path of whatever is the accepted norm. Oh, you got itching ears, you're just going to and from. I'm like, no, you know what? We are told over and over and over again, there's a straight and narrow path. And what I have found is what the vast majority of people are doing is usually not on that path. So it's a lot of these other things that start coming up, and like and everybody's resistant to it. That for me, I'm kind of like, I'm trying to gauge these things, and I'm always trying to pray, Father, give me discernment, help me to walk in truth, help me to know truth, and please help me not to be deceived, or to cause anybody else to be deceived. And it seems like lately one thing after another has been coming my way to consider. Even this stuff that Zen Garcia and I talked about this past Wednesday night. I mean, this is a subject that I have been quite opposed to for a number of years. And just like our brother here, he started throwing some scriptures at me and some things to look at, and I'm going, you know what? I really can't fight with that. I don't. Wow. So I think we need to remain open, not to just accept every wind of doctrine, but to be open enough to receive some new information, look at it, consider it, prayerfully look into it, and then search through the process of searching and seeing, like the Bereans did, we'll find out whether or not it's true. But we have to be able to have the open dialogue in order for that to take place. If you're shut down every time you bring up a new idea that's off the beaten path, we will never learn anything, and all you get stuck in is pigeonholed into what the majority is doing. And again, like I said, I found the majority to be wrong most of the time.
Well, I know you're going to be coming up this coming Wednesday night on the Truth Frequency Radio with Zen and Dante. You guys got a show coming up and going to be discussing it. And that's what I like about Now You See TV. We're willing to openly discuss it, whether we agree with it or not. So Zen, he messaged me because last night I put up, I don't support the serpent seed doctrine, and I've studied it. But at the same time, Zen is one of my good friends. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he loves the Father, loves Yeshua. Mm-hmm. And now I'm stuck. I'm not stuck. I've agreed to do a show with him after your Wednesday show, and just to talk about it as brothers.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I look at extra biblical texts. There's no secret there. People, some people go off on me because I'll quote from Enoch or Jubilees or Joshua or whatnot. And I've never said, hey, these are to be considered scripture. I've said, well, people in the past did consider them scripture. I'm not qualified to make that decision. But I will say that I believe that the people in the Bible were reading these books. The internal evidence of that is abundant. So if it's okay for the Holy Spirit inspired authors of Scripture to read these books, reference them, or refer to things that can't be found anywhere else except in those books, then why not? Why can't I look at them too? And he was talking from the Targums as some of his support thesis, and the vast majority of the people out there who go off on him for that don't even know what a Targum is.
Yeah, I know.
They just hear it, and I think a lot of them think that the Targum is the Talmud, which is that's not true. And I went today. I was like, you know what? I'm not even sure I totally know what the Targums are. I'm aware that there are other Jewish texts that were written. I mean, I knew that much, like the Mishnahs and different things. And I'm going, okay, I'm going to look it up. So this afternoon, I just did a fairly comprehensive Google search and read through a whole bunch of sites, the Jewish Encyclopedia, Tyndale's publishing website, a whole bunch of different websites. And pretty much all of them were in agreement. So even the Catholics were saying the same thing in the New Advent website. Like everybody, Jewish, Catholic, Christian, pick one, Protestant, whatever, they were all basically saying the same thing. You can read on Wikipedia even, that the Targums were essentially, that the word means translation. That it was a translation of the Hebrew into something else. And that particular case is associated with the Aramaic translation from the Hebrew. And so I'm going, well, if Targum is just the Hebrew word for translation, then every Bible I have on my shelf right here is a Targum. King James is a Targum,
You're going to get emails.
Well, I mean, if that's what the word means, then, hello. So, yeah, and some are saying, well, it's a paraphrase. And I'm like, well, that's debatable whether that's true or not. But let's say it is. Okay, it's a paraphrase written by people at the same time the other biblical authors lived. So, if you say a sentence to me and I just basically paraphrase what you say to somebody else, but still convey exactly what you just said, I'm still conveying what you just said, Right. So, I mean, if these guys, that's a lot different than a 20th century paraphrase written by people under a production or a publication company owned by Rupert Murdoch. There's a big difference, I think, between a 20th century paraphrase owned from a publication company owned by a Luciferian to paraphrases done by people who live at the same time, contemporary with everybody else. And if the Aramaic Targum was an Aramaic translation of the Hebrew written in the common language of the people, and everything I read is that it's from the second temple period forward into the early 1st century. Well, I mean, that puts you in the same time frame, at the very least, it puts you in the same time frame as the authors of the New Testament. And so I'm going, okay, well, I mean, if this was the understanding that the Hebrews had, and when you look at some of their rendering in Aramaic of what Genesis is saying, Zen's got a really good case, to be honest with you. And I'm looking, and Genesis 3:15 all of a sudden made a whole lot more sense to me. The first prophecy in the Bible, I talk about it all the time. First prophecy in the Bible where God tells the devil that Eve's seed's going to crush his head, right? But it also says that he has seed. That the seed of the woman will be at enmity with the seed of the serpent.
See, that's where I get my hang up, because a lot of, you can get a lot of racism out of that, just that kind of thinking, though.
Only if you assign a race to that. Right.
And there's a lot of those arguments.
I see no reason to do that. I mean, some people want to say it's black people, or some people want to say it's white people. Where are you getting that from? There's no color of anybody mentioned anywhere in the text. So if you apply a prejudice to the text that is not there, then that's on you. That's your problem. But that's not what the Bible is talking about there. And Genesis chapter 3.
It's going to be an interesting show for sure.
Well, it will be. And I respect both Zen and Dante. I've had plenty of knockdown, drag out online debates with both of them. Not so much with Zen, but with Dante. We've had epic debates. I mean, pretty much this entire book came out of largely out of the debates that I had with Dante, but he's always been cool, at least with me. We'll have knockdown dragouts, but in the end, we're still shaking hands, and it never turned into these big ad hominem attack kind of things, even in pretty passionate disagreement. So and up to this point, I have shared Dante's view on this subject. So I think I'm going to be a pretty good neutral host for this, because even though I shared Dante's view pretty much my whole life, as long as I've been thinking about it anyway, Zen has showed me some things that even in just the canonized text alone, in English, forget the Targum. I'm going, well, dude, I mean, you're making a compelling case. And my question today, I was just driving down the street today going, Father, why are all of these things coming up? Like in rapid, I mean, everything from flat earth to, this and to what Zen and I were talking about. I don't know, except that I think that, at least for me, this is my own personal opinion, that whatever is coming, whether it's August 22nd, September 23rd, or whatever in the near future, these things are going to play a part in it, and we're going to need to know what the truth is. So I'm not here to say that everything you're hearing from me is the truth. It's what I understand to be true at the moment. But I am saying the subjects that we're talking about are probably important for you guys to be looking into just as much as we are. Right now, we're having open dialogue. Our brother Juan here, he's looking into stuff and he's presenting his materials. Zen's looking into stuff, I'm looking into stuff. All we're doing is doing our own part to be Bereans. Now you guys need to do the same thing.
Hear the matter out.
That's right.
Just hear it out. So yeah, I posted that yesterday at 8:21. There's like 328 comments underneath it, right? And I want to thank everybody for being cordial in agreement and disagreement. Everybody was really, really cool in discussing it. And then afterwards, just tonight, Zen says, I got 3 dates for you, John. If you come on my show and we'll talk about it. And I said, I'll be there. But first, I want to hear you and Dante out first. And then I'll come up with my case, because I have my own preconceptions about,
Sure.
doctrine, but I want to hear the matter out and I want to discuss it with him.
Yeah.
That's the only way we can learn.
Yes, one thing regarding what you said about the Targum, Rob. I sent in the chat a video. I recommend you both to take a look on it.
The link?
Sorry?
What you sent something in the chat to look at?
Yes, I sent something in the chat.
Is that a YouTube video?
To a video, yes.
Okay.
The brother there is talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls. And as you said, the Targum somehow has a connection with the Brit Hadashah or the Messianic scriptures. What the information he put in this video is amazing, how the Dead Sea Scrolls have a huge connection with the first believers.
With the first, with the first what?
With the first believers, the disciples and the first believers.
Yeah.
So I recommend you to take a look on that, because I think, and also I'm getting to believe that the Dead Sea Scrolls somehow has a lot of information and connection with the teaching of Yahushua and also the disciples. Mm-hmm. So the brother in that video is 4 videos, so you can go to the link and take a look on those and the other ones. You will see some connections with the people that were sitting in Damascus. You remember that Shaul was going to Damascus to persecute some people. Everybody was saying that they were following the way. He's talking about that in the videos as well. So take a look, because I think, as you said, with the Targum, I think in the Dead Sea Scroll as well, there is an important connection.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, it looks like we're not going to get to do our reading again tonight, Rob.
Maybe there's a reason for that. I don't know.
I think there is.
I keep thinking, going, oh man, I really want to get through Samuel. I want to get through these other ones, but like you said, if this is where the Spirit's leading, then who am I to get in the way? I mean,
Well, I want to reiterate how you started out 2014's Torah portion. This is a virtual house church. It's just not one guy getting up and standing up and preaching at everybody. This is a discussion. And you went into the fellowship, how your all's fellowship, in a good way, split. And you guys went with Kevin's group and another group, and it just keeps growing and growing. And this is what a fellowship is about. And this is why you started the virtual house church.
That's right.
Yeah. Exactly why. Mm-hmm.
If I may, I would like to show you something from the presentation. It will take 2 minutes.
Okay.
Tell me when you see it.
Yeah, I see it.
So, I'm sorry for the mix. I have English and Spanish here because I'm still in work in progress. So, what is a day? When does it begin and end? So, checking the definition from the Torah, we see this definition from Bereshit chapter 1, verse 1 to 5. It says, in the beginning, Elohim created the Shamayim and the earth. And the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. So the first thing was darkness, right? And the Ruach of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. And Elohim said, let light come to be, and light came to be. Elohim saw the light, that it was good, and Elohim separated the light from darkness. So he separated everything, light from darkness. And Elohim called the light Yom, or day, and the darkness he called Laila, or night. And there came to be Erev, evening, and there came to be Boker, or morning, one day. So it would see, and this is the visual that I was preparing, everything was dark at the beginning, until he created the light. Okay. He said that he separated the light from the darkness. What happened when we are separating something? We are stretching something. No matter that maybe it's air that we cannot see, or we are stretching something, we can see that it's a kind of separation. So I tried to put this on the presentation. So he separated the light from darkness. And what happened? There was a mixture between darkness and light. Okay. And it says in this verse that the light he called day, and the darkness he called night. Okay. And there came to be Erev, and we know that Erev, evening, come after the light. And there came to be Boker, the first day. So the whole point here is that he called the portion of light day, he called the portion of darkness night, and now we are commenting that everything, darkness plus light, is a day. So I'm referring here in a text in Marcos 10:9. This is Mark 10:9. Yahushua is answering the Pharisees about the divorce. And it is a totally different topic, but let's see what he's saying. Therefore, what Elohim has joined together, let man not separate. So I think and I believe that if Elohim puts something together and we cannot separate it, if he puts something separated, or he separates something, we cannot put it together. So if Elohim separated the light from darkness, who we are to join them now? So we are calling the day the sum of darkness and light, when he said that only the portion of light is the day. So what's the other witness we have even in the same book? It's about the thought, the signs. We have in Bereshit 1:14-18. It said Elohim said, let lights come to be in the expanse of the Shamayim. And what is said? To separate the day from the night. Again, it's separation. And he's creating the light in order for us to have a sign of this separation. And let them be for Otot, signs, and Moedim, appointed times, and for Yomim, days, and Shanaim, years. And let them be for lights in the expanse of the Shamayim, to give light on the earth. And it came to be so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, one light to rule the day, and a lesser light to rule the night and the stars. And Elohim set them in the expanse, the Rekia of the Shamayim, to give light on the earth, and to rule over the Yom, day, and over the Laila, night, and to separate the light from the darkness. Again, he's separating, as we see over here, separating day from night, and he's separating the same verse over here. So how we can know with the scriptures what's the greater light and what's the lesser light? Let's go to the Tehillim, Psalms 136. It says, to him who made great lights, for his loving commitment is everlasting. The sun to rule by Yom of day. So the greater light is the sun, for his loving commitment is everlasting. The moon and stars to rule by Laila, night. So the lesser light to rule the night is the moon and stars. So the visual representation here, we have Boker, morning, we have Yom, day, we have Erev, evening, we have Laila, night. And what he says in the scriptures, in Bereshit, he put the sun to rule over the day, and this is the portion of the day. And he put the moon and the stars in order to rule over the night. So the definition we have over here in the scriptures is that a day is from sunrise to sunset. And night is just night. It's another cycle. The entire cycle includes a day and a night. Mm-hmm. And this is key to understand the calendar, and also it's key to understand the Shabbat day. That's why I told you last time, I'm following Shabbat from sunrise to sunset. Because what I understand from the scriptures, from Bereshit, that the day is from sunrise to sunset. There are another stuff over here about the 12 hours in a day. I think we are overdue on the time, but I will send it to you.
Yeah. I appreciate what you did, and I love the visuals that you have there. I was just thinking about, is Shabbat a 24-hour period of time, or is it a 12-hour period of time? And the conclusion that I came to, because I'm with you now on this beginning with the sunrise part, is that biblically speaking, daylight time is the time of work. Night time is the time of rest. So on Shabbat, he's telling you to rest from your labors, which implies don't work during the day, which means you're resting at day, and you're supposed to also be resting at night, because that's when people are supposed to be sleeping. The dilemma comes with people like me who do the majority of their work at night. And so for me, I'll go to bed 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and then sleep till 11, 12, in the afternoon, or 1 in the afternoon. So half my day's gone already just from sleeping. So what the conclusion I came to was, it would be really easy for me to find a loophole in that and say, woohoo, sleep through the day on Saturday and work Saturday night. And then I said, you know what? I'm not giving myself a Shabbat. So whether or not Shabbat is defined as only during the day, i.e. a 12-hour period when the sun's up, I'm personally going to do the 24-hour deal, because I work, again, the majority of my work is at night. So if I didn't include night as my Shabbat, I would never have a Shabbat.
He used to get on me. Rob used to get on me about not sleeping at all. Now I got to go to bed at 9:30 so I can get up at 4. So I get up at 4 a.m. and then bam, Rob posting stuff. I'm going, dude, go to bed. Go to bed.
I told you last time, I'm also following some traditions. I'm celebrating Shabbat Eve on Friday night, having my dinner, even taking a shower as a kind of purification, following somehow the scriptures, and doing many stuff. But, after I realized about what is a day according to the scriptures, according to Torah, I decided to keep it anyway. But I separated what is the commandment, the mitzvot, of the tradition. And tradition is not bad. We can have traditions. The only thing that we need to be aware that we are not keeping tradition that is going against the Torah.
Correct.
And so we need to understand what is the commandment, what is the mitzvot. Correct. And if we want to follow tradition in order to put, additional things that we want to follow, and we are not going to force anyone to do it, it's okay.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I think that's a good word. Being able to not all traditions are bad. There are some good traditions, that are good. But if we are being biblical literalists here, I personally would have to agree, looking at the text, my interpretation, looking at it literally, is that it's just for the 24-hour or the 12-hour period that the sun is up. But for a guy like me, I've got to put the nighttime in there too. That it will have to be my tradition if we put it that way. And, of course, I don't see anything wrong with doing that anyway, but
I'll second that.
That would be the only way that I could feel I am legitimately doing what I'm supposed to be doing and not cheating. If that makes sense.
In the presentation, I have something about the Shabbat. You will take a look. And what is the importance of the Shabbat? It is written in Shemot. It's the fourth word. On the Shabbat, we don't have to work. Mm-hmm. So that's the key on the Shabbat. We need to rest. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so important to understand from the scriptures when we have to work. When everybody has to work according to the scriptures. And actually, a key to understand that is in the word of Mashiach about the 12 hours in a day.
He says
and you will see it over there.
Yeah.
The work is being done from morning to Boker, to evening.
Right.
So
and
during the day.
And with the I love the way you had the black and white day and night with the blending in between there. Because if we think of God modeling exactly what Yeshua did, go figure, right? They're one, right? He does his work during the day. So all day, daylight time period, he's doing his creative work. And then he rests over the night period, which includes going up to Boker. Because Boker, as I understand it, is that blending period before the sun comes up. And so that's why it says, and he did this, blah, 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 blah. And then there's the evening and there was morning. That was one day. And then sun comes up, work. Sun goes down, rest. Before the sun comes up, Boker, evening and morning were second day. Like, that makes a lot more sense to me now than it used to when I was trying to force that into meaning, see, the day begins at sunset.
Yeah. What I'm showing in the screen is basically when Mashiach said in Yehohanan 11, 9 and 10 about the 12 hours.
Right.
And he himself is explaining us in a parable how to understand this. And this is in Matthew 21-16 about the hiding servants. So I'm not going to explain it now, but it's basically, you can see the entire sequence of events if you read that parable in Matthew, when the day begin in the morning, when they're starting to work, and the different hours during the day. And when Erev comes in evening, he calls everybody that was working in order to pay them. So the explanation about the day, even Mashiach is telling us how to do it.
Yeah.
From morning to evening.
Yeah, I now I see this so clearly. Before I couldn't see that. I get it now. As a visual person, these are, oh man, you got some great slides there. Just looking at your left-hand column there.
Yeah, let me show you that last one. And this is I'm preparing the 3 witnesses. I have 2 witnesses over here.
Huh.
The first one is regarding Yom HaKippurim. So if we follow the Hillel calendar, okay, this is the way it should be done, right? The day started in Erev. So
right.
we have the day 8 of month 7, day 9, day 10, and day 11, and so on. So what is written over there in the scriptures that the Yom HaKippurim is on the 10 and the day 10. We have it over there. But he's saying that we need to keep it from evening to evening. On the from the 9, actually, you can see it on the 9th day of the Chodesh at evening, from evening to evening. So if we do that, we're going to start over here until here, and we're keeping Yom HaKippurim on the day 9, and we're not doing it on the 10.
That was the slam dunk for me right there, because if we look at your chart that you have right here, day 8, 9, 10, we think of it as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If we think of it that way, by the reckoning of starting the day at sunset in the evening, if we go by that reckoning, then you have the Day of Atonement being started on the evening of the 9th, which would actually be Monday.
Yeah.
Monday night. So Day of Atonement's off by that reckoning. I mean, that was a big. I mean, my friend Brian brought that to me one day in our Shabbat fellowship, and I'm going, "Wow, dude, yeah, you're right." Because if you begin the day at evening, then the evening of the 9th would be what we would call Monday evening, on the 8, 9, 10 Gregorian calendar.
Yes.
And it just doesn't work. It can't work. But if you begin the day at sunrise, then starting it on then if you start at sunrise in the evening of the 9th, immediately precedes the day of the 10th, which makes perfect sense.
So if we consider the light portion of the day, when we have the light as a day, as we have it over there, this is the day 8, day 9, and day 10. So he's saying that and the 11. He said that the Yom HaKippurim is on the 10th day.
Yeah.
And we need to keep it from Erev on the day 9.
Yep. Perfect.
And to the other one. So everything is perfect because we're keeping Yom HaKippurim here.
Yeah, hold that on that. I gotta do a screen capture of this right here for myself.
I will send it to you, Rob, by the way. So don't worry, I will send it to you and you will receive it.
Yeah, make sure you send that to me, Juan, because now there's a few people are hoping that Rob will put it up on the Virtual House Church website.
And the second witness I'm prepared here is the Pesach and the Har HaMatzot. It's exactly the same thing, and we see the scripture when the first Pesach was happening in Shemot, and also some reference in the Bidbar and the Barim. You see the same thing: day 13, day 14, and day 15. So it's saying that the Pesach lamb needs to be sacrificed on the evening of the day 14. So in the overall understanding that the day is starting in evening, this is the place that the Pesach lamb has to be sacrificed. So we know from the scripture that the death of the firstborn was in the middle of the night, so over here. And after that, Pharaoh called Moshe in order to send all the people out. Okay. If we check, I'm not going to read the scriptures. You can do it by yourself later. If you check the scriptures that we have as a reference here, it says that Israel lived Mizraim before the morning after the Pesach. So this is the morning after the Pesach. And this should be, after that should be the first day of the Chag HaMatzot, day of remembrance. So if we see the narrative, this is not correct, and I'm not going to explain now because it will take more time. But if the day is starting on Boker, what is happening? Actually, what's wrong with this? That we had an entire day
where nothing's happening.
That's nothing is happening.
Yeah.
Okay. So if the day is starting on Boker, so here we have the Boker. So the Pesach lamb needs to be sacrificed on the evening of the day 14. Here we have. So the death of the firstborn, and the Pharaoh was calling Moshe to leave the people out, happened over here. And the interesting thing that they were eating the Pesach in haste because they were prepared in order to leave. And actually, that's why we have the leavened bread, because they didn't have enough time in order to prepare it and leave it to leaven. So that happened over there, and it was a night of watches. That actually, that's the way the scripture mentioned about this night. And after that, Israel lives on the day 15, not on the day 14. So and the scripture says that they lived on the day 15.
So we're told to kill the Passover lamb and eat it between the two evenings. So
it's not between the two evenings, it's between the evenings. Actually, the difference from the Yom HaKippurim, it says from evening to evening. Right. In the case of the Pesach, it's another Hebrew word, is the Ir Harmigim. I don't remember well, but it's a totally different word. So it's talking about 2 periods of time during the evening in the same day.
Okay. So you're saying, yeah, I've heard that line of thought too, that it was between like 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. or something like that in the same day. The other school of thought is that it's just like the Day of Atonement, that it's evening to evening, so that you could kill it on the 13th. Yeah. Because Maria Marola, she's got an excellent blog on that. And can you put that previous screen back up again? Yeah, Maria Marola did a really good teaching on the evening to evening thing, and even in the way you've got it there, if what she's saying is true, then Yeshua still ate a Passover dinner on the evening of the 13th.
Actually, I think, and actually that's why I show you this. I'm preparing this part, the death and resurrection of Yahushua. My understanding and my belief that Yahushua really ate the Pesach.
I believe he did.
And actually, when he did it, was over here on the evening of the 14th, not on the 13th.
Whoa. So then you have him being crucified on the 15th?
Oh, and I have yes, that's true. And I have a reason for that.
I don't think that works because the 15th is a high Sabbath.
What's your reasoning?
Oh, it will take a lot of time to explain, but you know, what was the entire sacrifice of Yahushua? What he put over himself? Sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
He took all the sin over himself,
which is leaven.
That's his leaven. And if you read the narrative of the Chag HaMatzot, it says that in the first day of the feast, that's in the 15th, we need to take all the leaven out of our houses and burn it. So basically, Yahushua being taking all the sin over himself. It's basically the whole picture of taking the living out of the world.
Yeah, but the problem was, I mean, I see the path that you're taking, but the problem is that they were killing the lambs the same time that he was being sacrificed. So they wouldn't be killing lambs on the 15th. They would be killing lambs on the 14th.
But there we have the whole discussion about what was the calendar that the Yahudim was following on that time. And if you read Yahuchanan all the time is referring the feast of the Yahudim.
Yeah, he's saying the feast of the Jews. Why would a Jew say that?
Yeah, but he's talking about that.
Okay, all right, interesting. Yeah, we don't have time to unpack that. That's probably another show, but
exactly.
Oh boy. Well, hey, there you go.
You know, that's the way Yahuwah works with us. He's leading us with the Ruach HaKodesh in different paths.
Yeah, you know, my prayer is hopefully, I mean, there's probably some people here that are coming brand new to all of this, and hopefully this isn't causing confusion. Let me just say, I may not be the guy that you come to for any kind of biblical stuff. And the reason for that is, especially if you're new, is I'm not into milk. You know, I assume most of my audience has already been weaned off of milk. And there are plenty of people whose ministry, they're called to serve milk. What do I mean by that? The basics. This is what you need, the very, very basic, what you need for eternal sustenance. You know, what you need to get into the kingdom, what you need to have a relationship with Yeshua. That is the bottom line basic. And my entire life, I've never been caught. I do that. I do certainly evangelize people who come from a totally secular worldview and then lead them into a gospel message and see them come to salvation. I get that. I'm part of that because that's part of the Great Commission. But my personal calling in my life has always been in the meat category. This is a hand, not the foot kind of thing. You know, I don't think we should be pointing fingers. Well, you should be doing this. You should be doing that because that's what blah, blah, blah. When the body works best is when it works together. There will be people whose entire ministry, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. Maybe, I'm saying maybe even a guy like Joel Osteen is absolutely necessary for the body here. And the reason I say that is because, yeah, I can sit back and judge a lot of things he says. Believe me, I do. But there have been also a number of times when I was just really beaten down low and just really ready to give up on life and everything and channel surfing, and I see his cheesy smile and like, what a cheeseball. I'll listen to it for like 10 minutes and somehow the Holy Spirit managed to speak through him directly to me exactly what I needed at that time. Maybe that's what he's called to do. You know, unfortunately, you end up with an auditorium of tens of thousands of people who are content and sucking on milk for the rest of their life. You know, and that's where I have a problem. When Paul talks about, you know, he gives a list of things that, regarding doctrine and theology. And if you look at the list that he gives, and then he says, I want to give you meat, but we're stuck on the milk. You know, I'm paraphrasing. But if you look at what Paul's saying there, I wish I had the verse off the top of my head to show you. That's the core essential of what like everybody's preaching. And he's like, I want to go deeper with you guys, but you can't handle it. I'm stuck over here with you. If you're new to all of this, then you probably need to go to somebody, and there are a lot of ministries out there that do a great job at sort of the, I don't want to kind of sound haughty here. Hear me out. I'm not trying to say what we're doing is better. I'm saying that if you want more basic level stuff, introductory level stuff, there are other ministries out there who do a phenomenal job of that and have deeper stuff too. And I would say somebody like Torah Family, like Steve Mutria, 119 Ministry, they have both. They have deep, good meat, solid meat. They also have a really good section of teaching, if you will, that's more milk oriented. If you get what I'm saying here. New to Torah, Zach Bauer. I mean, the title of his ministry alone should tell you, New to Torah. If you're brand new to this stuff, he's got some awesome entry-level stuff. I've just not been called to that. That's not my thing. When I was growing up, my friend Mike, he was like the super fisherman of men, right? He would cast the nets like no one else to bring the fish in. But we worked together as a team. So many times Mike would be the guy, he was never afraid. We were in boot camp together in the Army, you know, and we've had a rough day, long day. Everybody's out there doing all their training and stuff. We barely get enough sleep as it is. We're sleeping there. He's on the bunk above me, and everybody, we were training at the time in the late 80s with the possibility of all of us shipping out to Iraq for the first desert party that they had. So all of us were training with the idea that we may be shipping out pretty quick. And you know, we're focused on our training. We're tired, and it's late at night. And Mike busts out with, "So, if we ended up going to Iraq and you were to die, do you know where you'd spend eternity?" You know, and everybody's, "Shut up!" You know, but he was like, that was him. I mean, and he had the ability, not always the great timing, but he had the ability to throw that fishing line out and reel people in. And then I was the go-to guy afterwards for the sort of the discipleship and let's go deeper and what's all this about? What does this mean? That's what I feel I'm called to do. That's the personality that I have. That's the ministry that has led to Virtual House Church. So some of the things that we're covering here tonight may be confusing to you guys. And some of you may be looking at it like, these guys don't even know what they're talking about. You know what? Start with the basics first, get what you need first, and then work your way up. And then I'm assuming that a lot of the people here that are talking on this broadcast, we've been in this for a little while. We have tried some of the other ways out for a while. Like I said before, the calendar that I was on before, 7 years working on that calendar, but starting to see problems with it now. You don't realize that there are problems until you try to work something out and you go, well, yeah, this doesn't really work as well as I thought it did. So we're trying to go deeper and iron those things out. I'm hoping I'm making some sense here. Just because I can see some people coming in through various avenues. I know a lot of people came to the Torah stuff as a result of flat earth. You know, you got somebody who's an atheist, their whole life hates God, doesn't believe in God, whatever. They come into flat earth and they're like, wow, there must be a God. Wow, this Rob Skiba guy kind of makes a little bit of sense. Let me follow him. I'm going to watch some of his videos. Next thing you know, he's in the middle of this broadcast. You know, and he's going, what? So, yeah, drink whatever milk you need to drink first, realizing that we over here have already done that, and we are trying to go deeper. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. Not saying we're better, not saying anything like that. I'm just trying to hopefully clarify what's going on here so people don't freak out.
Guys, I would like to say the last words, since I have been showing some things here. And I'm going to take one of your phrases, Rob, that I like it very much. Don't believe what I'm saying. Research from yourself and let the Ruach HaKodesh lead you. For the new believers, start with the basic steps. Because you know, it's very difficult if if a baby is eating meat, he can die. So if some things that we have been seeing here is too much and you are not understanding this, don't take it, because it's not the right moment for you to take it. Start with the basic, start with the milk, start, as Rob said, with the basic stuff and understanding what's Torah, what's the walk, what's sin, what's righteousness, what's salvation, these kind of things. Actually, Shaul in Ibrim is saying what are the basic stuff to learn. So start with that. And the time will come and the Ruach HaKodesh will lead you to start learning more deeper stuff as soon as you start understanding the basic things and moving forward in the walk.
Exactly. That's a good word to end on. I want to thank everybody for watching the Virtual House Church tonight. If you guys don't know, there's a Virtual House Church Facebook page everyone can go to. It's growing in leaps and bounds. The discussions can continue over there. Rob, I want to thank you for coming on again this Friday. Be thinking, are we going to be doing these on Saturday night, brother? It's like
pretty much yes.
You just let me know when you're ready to start that. Yeah. Well, probably. Well, now that he's saying, what were you just saying? March? What was your calendar? March 21st?
March 22nd is the first day.
So next Wednesday. Next
Wednesday is the first day of the year.
Okay. Well, maybe. What do you think, John? Next Saturday?
Next Saturday.
I have a suggestion, Rob. By the way, guys, you should keep it on Friday. because I think this is a very good discussion, and we can have the Saturday in order to think about everything that we have been discussing during the night.
Take the Sabbath to think about it.
Yes.
Or discuss it with your home groups.
True.
Yeah, and pray to Yahuwah to guide us.
There's value in that. Here's my issue is that extends my Sabbath to 36 hours.
Rob's got a lot coming up. He needs to.
I got a lot of work
stuff
to do.
done.
I got a ton of work to do.
Maybe
So that's my
maybe
dilemma.
you need to think a little bit on your tradition to keep the next night. But anyway, it's just a suggestion.
Juan, you're gonna get Rob in trouble.
Leave me alone. I got enough problems to think about.
Yeah, I know.
All right,
okay,
guys.
We'll keep it as it is until further notice.
Understood. I want to thank everybody, and may Yahweh bless your Sabbath tomorrow. And say high five and Shabbat Shalom. Pre-Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.